Alright, what's up everyone? So, it's mid-2025, and this is the iPhone 13 Pro. Yeah, this iPhone, the 2021 flagship that first brought us Apple's 120Hz ProMotion display. I seriously remember unboxing this thing back in late 2021 and just being blown away by how smooth the scrolling was. Back then, the 13 Pro felt absolutely cutting edge. I mean, it was the first iPhone to debut that adaptive 120Hz display. And now, well, 4 years on, I've been using it daily on the latest iOS 18 point something to see how it really holds up. So, in this video, we'll see its design, screen, performance, software, camera, battery, and what its remaining value is in 2025. Let's get into it. All right, the design. And honestly, it still feels like really premium. You've got this flat-edged stainless steel frame and a matte glass back, which makes this iPhone feel appropriately premium. And with a 6.1 inches display, it's actually pretty compact by today's standards, but it's got this solid, heavy feel, about 204 grams because of those steel rails. For comparison, the iPhone 15 Pro, that one switched to a lighter titanium frame and weighs around 188 grams. So yeah, my 13 Pro is definitely on the heavier side, but that build gives it this durable, no-nonsense heft, you know? Plus, the ceramic shield glass on the front and back has stood up really well to drops. I've had no cracks so far, which is, frankly, amazing. But also, the design does feel a bit dated next to 2025 models. I mean, the 13 Pro Street Ill has the older Lightning port for charging, and then there's the notch. It still retains that iPhone 12 era notch, although Apple did make it about 20% smaller than the 12 Pros, which was something, but it's not the newer dynamic island you see on the newer iPhone. In practice, the notch isn't hugely bothersome. I've grown used to it, but it definitely looks old next to the almost bezel-less screens on modern phones. Now the display. Honestly, it's still a highlight for me. It's a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED with ProMotion, meaning it can dynamically go from 10 Hz all the way up to 120 Hz. And like many reviewers said at launch, this was a significant upgrade for fluidity. Seriously, even today, that 120 Hz makes menus and scrolling feel so silky smooth compared to a 60 Hz phone. And Apple's adaptive system is smart. It ramps the refresh rate up and down to save battery, which is why the battery life was so good despite the fast screen. Spec-wise, the screen is 2532 by 1170 at about 460 ppi. It supports HDR, Wide-P, 3-color, and True Tone. And you know what? That core quality is pretty much unchanged in newer iPhones. The iPhone 15 Pro still uses a Super Retina XDR OLED at the same resolution with ProMotion. What is different though is that brightness and bezel size, oh yeah, also the ProMotion can get to 1 Hz for more saving battery and always on display. Compared to flagship Android phones in 2025, the 13 Pro's panel is still competitive in quality. Colors and contrast are excellent, but a bit behind on brightness level. So yeah, the iPhone 13 Pro still has a great display. Performance-wise, the iPhone 13 Pro is powered by Apple's A15 Bionic chip from 2021 with 6GB of RAM, and despite its age, it remains a very capable performer on iOS 8. Apps launch quickly, animations are smooth, and I haven't really hit any system slowdowns in normal use. Stuff like web browse, email, social media, streaming video, all run flawlessly. Even many games play well at high settings, though you'll struggle if you try to max everything out. However, by 2025, the A15 is, well behind the curve. The latest iPhones, the 15 and 16 series, they're using 17 or A18 chips, which are giving them 20 to 30% higher CPU and GPU benchmarks. So, the 13 Pro has slower, multi-core, and weaker graphics compared to those. For example, the iPhone 16 Pro's A18 Pro offers significant improvements and even has hardware-accelerated ray tracing, which the A15 lacks. In everyday terms, this mostly matters for heavy workloads, like rendering 4K video or latest heavy games might run slower on the 13 Pro, but for ordinary use, it generally keeps up. On iOS 18, animations feel as fluid as ever, so the performance is still good, but it definitely shows its age in very demanding apps. For everyday users, the gap isn't crippling, most apps feel snappy, but it's certainly not future-proof hardware. Okay, software updates. As of mid-2025, the iPhone 13 Pro is running iOS 18.5, and Apple still supports this mode for more years. Actually, some resources estimate the 13 Pro will get major iOS updates through around 2028. That's roughly 7 years from its 2021 launch, which is pretty amazing. This means you're getting many current iOS features. For example, Apple added satellite messaging support to the 13 series with iOS 18.5. So you can send emergency SOS or texts via satellite if you're off-grid, which was originally only on the 14 models. However, it does miss out on the newest OS features that need special hardware. For instance, there's no Apple Intelligence on its iPhone. But, honestly, I've never really felt like I've lost Apple Intelligence. Because basically, I can still get a lot of AI features from third-party apps. Like, if I want an AI eraser, I can just use Google Photos and it works perfectly and it's free. If I want smarter AI assistant capabilities, well, I can use apps like ChatGPT or Gemini. So for me, it's not a huge deal. All right, the camera system. The iPhone 13 Pro has triple 12 megapixel lenses, wide, ultra-wide, and a telephoto with 3x optical zoom plus LiDAR. This was top-notch in 2021. And in 2025, it still takes great photos in most situations. Daylight shots are sharp with good color and dynamic range. Portrait mode, with that LiDAR assist, is still very reliable, and night mode on all lenses is quite capable. Apple's computational photography, like Smart HDR and Deep Fusion, is still strong here. Video recording at 4K 60 FPS is smooth and well stabilized, and you can even do cinematic mode in ProRes video. That said, newer phone cameras have, seriously leaped ahead. The 13 Pro's 12 megapixel main sensor is smaller compared to the 48 megapixel sensors now common in newer iPhones, but in practical terms, the 13 Pros still took great images, but if you zoom in or crop, there's less resolution to work with. Its telephoto is only 3x, whereas many 2025 flagships offer 5x or even 10x optical zoom. So in use, I find the 13 Pro's camera still really good, better than most mid-range phones. Battery-wise, the iPhone 13 Pro was very impressive at launch. Apple's own testing showed the best battery life we've seen in an Apple Pro iPhone. Now, after 4 years, I noticed my battery health is 78% and it still holds a solid charge. On a typical day, mix of calls, web, a bit of gaming or camera use, I get about 5 to 6 hours of screen on time. Okay, so even as I enjoy using the 13 Pro, it's clear what hasn't aged well. Some pain points in 2025 definitely include the Lightning port instead of USB-C, still carrying that special cable when all new iPhones use USB-C. The notch, not Dynamic Island. It's a bit dated now compared to what newer iPhones. Limited RAM. 6 gigabytes was fine in 2021, but now with phones shipping with 8 gigabytes and rumors said 17 series will use 12 gigabytes, the 13 Pro can sometimes reload background apps more aggressively. Camera hardware is dated. Those 12 megapixel sensors and 3x telephoto lag behind the 48 megapixel and 5x plus systems on new phones. So, in summary, the 13 Pro feels last gen in some ways. It lacks the newest conveniences, but nothing here breaks the phone. It just doesn't match the polish of 2025 flagships. So, after months of daily use, the iPhone 13 Pro in 2025 is, well, a solid, if slightly antiquated, device. It's held up remarkably well. The stainless steel and glass build still feels luxurious, the screen is very smooth, and the battery life remains strong. Performance is still snappy for everyday tasks, and iOS 18 runs flawlessly with all the features Apple supports for this model. And the cameras still take great pictures for social sharing, even if they don't have the brute specs of the newest flagships. Value-wise, this is where it gets interesting. The 13 Pro is now firmly in that budget flagship category. You can find used or refurbished units for a few $100s. I saw Swappa listings starting around $270, and Backmarket has them refurbished in the high $300 with a warranty. And for that price, you get a premium build, that 120Hz OLED display, and probably about 3 more years of iOS updates. In other words, it's a bargain if you don't need the absolute latest features. Alright, that's my take on the iPhone 13 Pro 4 years later. What do you guys think? Are any of you still using one, or maybe thinking of picking one up? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and hey, consider subscribing for more tech reviews and thoughts like this. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.